Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. And Health AI, fix your LinkedIn funnel, the founder's way. And I'm not going to be presenting. I'm just saying hi. I'm here to introduce your host, Ekanjali Dhillon. She works in digital transformation in London. And she doesn't sell Health AI, but she hears a lot of sales pitches. And she's going to be hosting the event. Thank you so much, Ekanjali, for coming.
Thank you for having me, Jose, and welcome everybody. We've got a stellar event for you today, fixing your LinkedIn funnel. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we often engage with LinkedIn in as a user, but actually, how do you place your product or your team's product in the best way, and put the best foot forward on this medium? So we have some great experts. They bring different perspectives to this conversation. And really, there's a lot of theory, but we wanted to have the opportunity to present some practical steps today. And we really want some engagement from you. So get that Q&A into the chat. We will get those answered, and we've left time to do so. This is meant to be an interactive session. We also have a bit of an after party afterwards where you can interact with the panelists and have more direct communication and interaction with them. So we invite you to stay for that as well. And we have 4 speakers today on our panel. So we will jump right in with Kofi Annan. So welcoming Kofi to this webinar. He's been a speaker with us before and has great perspective. So I'll hand over to you, Kofi, to introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Kanjali. Hello, everyone. My name is Kofi Annan, not the UN guy, obviously. My company is called The Brand Sensei, and I've spent probably about 20 to 25 years um, at the intersection of marketing and technology, specifically helping companies of different sizes bring their product and their company vision to the market and to customers and to partners using technology to accelerate and streamline a lot of that. And I've seen a lot of things change from the entrance of mobile or even social, and obviously as we are where we are right now with AI. And some of the trends, one of the big trends that I've seen in the past probably 6 months, particularly as we're talking about using LinkedIn as a platform, is the introduction and acceleration of video as a propeller for brand growth and customer growth on LinkedIn. So I'll walk you all through some of the things that I've seen right now, and feel free to ask questions. I'll just share my screen really quickly. All right. Can we see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So yes, as I mentioned, and I think at this point we've all started seeing, whether you've been paying attention or not, organically the growth of video on the LinkedIn platform. It's been live video for a while, but more importantly, in the past probably 6 months, you've seen a lot more emergence of just short form video, long form video, and they're even integrating a lot of those videos into our feeds. The feeds used to be focused squarely on text posts and image posts, but as particularly even I would say even in the past 2 or 3 weeks, LinkedIn has been slowly introducing video, recorded video into those feeds. So I've seen the impact of that, and a large part of it has been the impact of video on engagement, right? So we're seeing four times more engagement on LinkedIn from brands and the partners that I work with. Again, it's still early days, so it's really a competitive edge. And those things are really boosting the engagements above, as I mentioned, text and videos and images. So if you're focused on growing your brand on LinkedIn, growing your customers, and video should definitely be top of mind. Now, one of the biggest hurdles of video is we all have other things that we're doing, running our businesses, creating products, engaging customers. So how do we fit in video generation and video content into the mix again, to make sure that we are using that a competitive edge and we're accelerating our brand growth and our customer growth and accelerating sales. And what I've seen here is a combination of what I've seen work is a combination of video with AI, right? Using AI to streamline and accelerate how we're creating and distributing and engaging with video. So what I've seen from some stats there is 50% engagement boost as you're generating more video, AI-driven calls to action. So having AI help you refine that call to action within the video context. You're seeing 10% conversion increase, 20% time savings. Again, we definitely understand that LinkedIn is the great platform for engagement, for sales, for meeting our customers. But as we're looking at that time savings, that 20% really factors into a lot. And then more importantly, from what I'm seeing, as more and more video starts becoming out there, more content, video allows for that authenticity, a lot more authenticity than you would be able, a customer or a prospect will be able to have through text or even images or the carousels, which again are effective. But if you're really trying to bring that personality behind your company and really want to supplement that face to face, this is where video generated by AI and amplified by AI really helps. And there's different ways that you could use video through on LinkedIn. You see one of the early days when I myself was really hesitant to use video on LinkedIn, but as I kind of stepped into it, you see the bottom left video there. I was able to get about 80,000 views on that one video, and this one was about ChatGPT launching its AI search engine. And I mean, that's crazy numbers for LinkedIn, which is essentially a B2B platform. So you could see that, and you can see that the reach there and the impact is really strong. And then just some examples here. You see some familiar faces, and towards the right there with Jose and Ekanjali. We've been doing some videos on LinkedIn as well. We've seen some great strides with that. And then it's not just you being on video. Demos, unboxings, those kinds of things, even using AI avatars could really help you generate video. So again, just try to explore some of the different ways. But the key area is here, how can you use AI to make LinkedIn videos that are engaging, impactful, and effortless? And I'll walk you through really quickly, high level, some of the ways that I'm helping my clients and I'm seeing some successes with them generating video. And this is a structure that I encourage a lot of my clients to use to both generate that video, but then make sure that your brand and your personality is coming through. So the first step is defining your specific brand, and I'll quickly touch base on ways that you could do that really quickly with AI. And then understanding your audience. It's not just creating video on LinkedIn is not the silver bullet. You do have to connect with that key audience. So you do have to understand your ICP and your customers and what they care about, what their pains and goals are. And then you have to build a video funnel. Not all video works the same way. Some are good for awareness and others are good for conversion. So you have to understand the different kinds of video that really drives that engagement. And then, as with anything on LinkedIn, it's about engagement and it's about conversion. So you have to be there engaging with those people as they're engaging with your video to start to continue the conversation and start building those relationships. I have a few different prompts that I use in AI, and I could share that with everyone after all of this, but I'll just go through two key ones that are really focused where I see a lot of people stumble, which is how do I create my unique voice so that it comes through through video. So the first prompt here is how to craft your story, and essentially it's a story goldmine prompt. You can use this in any LLM, ChatGPT, Claude, or anything, and you don't have to read too much of it here, but essentially what it does is it prompts the AI platform to interview you as the person who is going to be representing the brand. So it essentially walks you through different questions, and it interviews you to capture the behind the scenes of your product or your brand or your company, the case studies that you're trying to bring forth, the personalities, all those things that are probably inherent and differentiate your brand. It allows you to the AI to interview you and then pull those out so that you're able to use that in video content, text content, and image content. The second one here is the to unleash your brand voice is the tone of voice analyzer. So we write a lot. We have a lot of sales tools. We've been writing on LinkedIn a lot. We have a lot of content on our website. So this prompt here allows you to pull all that information, analyze it. So you're not just creating videos that are generic and very corporate, but they are grounded in personality, your unique voice, how you talk to your customers. So again, it's really bringing forth that human aspect of everything of your brand. And then high level, just crafting that video through AI. What I've seen work with a lot of AI content, a lot of content specifically, even with video, is a strong hook, some kind of a story, which again would be fueled by what you've gone through with that story gold mine and some of those insights and stories behind your brand, and then a strong call to action. And this is a structure that can be used specifically in video to guide you through, so you don't have the anxiety of creating that video, but then also it allows you to connect with your audience. So in short, I have there are a number of other prompts that I use if you'd like to get in contact with me, but I encourage everyone to start creating compelling LinkedIn video content. So use AI where needed, but make sure you're bringing your brand voice to the front and using the tools that you have on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn really does want you to create video. And the more you give LinkedIn what it wants, it'll give you what you want, which is more customers and more followers.
Great. Thank you, Kofi. That was really, really helpful. I have a question for you. You mentioned authenticity, and this is something that I think the video medium is particularly good at potentially capturing. But the pitfall is that in your want to present, well, or come across very corporate, some of that can get lost. So it's balancing that professionality with that authenticity. So what do you see works best around trying to come across authentic as well as professional?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question, and that's where a lot of brands fall short. Really, it really comes down to the stories that you're telling, right? And I always emphasize that, and I think a lot of times we take for granted, the experiences that we're having offline, and even some of the conversations that we're having. We think that those are valuable nuggets that any conversation that you're having with a customer or prospect could be a kind of conversation or kind of question that somebody else in your audience will be asking. And how you answer that question and how you're able to convert people so that they choose you as a product is something that you want to capture, and that is authentically your brand. So you want to make sure that you have that on hand at all points, even if it's in a Word doc or something like that, that you're always referencing that, because that's going to keep you on track and on message, and it allows you to convert the customer. So the authenticity really starts with the individuals in the company and their lived experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. The why behind the story, behind the tech, and those human factors that we've discussed before as well. No, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. We will loop back to you in the Q&A at the end. So moving on to Brian, and just having a look at the chat. Are we ready with your presentation, Brian? I'm hoping that Jose has got that slide deck ready.
Don't have it.
No?
No, I don't know.
I mean, we can move on to our next speaker and come back and loop back to you, Brian, if that helps.
Yeah, send it over, Jose. Did you you didn't receive it?
I don't have it, Brian. I don't know where it is. Sorry.
Right. I can try to share. I just know it looked like we were having a little bit of digital trouble with the sharing.
Works.
Let's have a go, Brian, because we want to see what you've got there.
All right, let me see.
So while Brian does that, I've actually had a chat with Brian on a different webinar before, and he brings great expertise around the digital marketing side. So I'm really, really looking forward to this segment. Are you able to share, Brian?
Can you see it now?
Not yet. I'm hoping it will load.
All right, well, let me see here. Okay.
Is it super necessary?
Well, I was going to show all of the ways that you can update and sort of power up your profile to make it more of a. Well, I can talk to it. Let me talk to
Can you
it.
send it to me via DM
Let's see
on
here.
LinkedIn?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
You did. Okay.
All right. Can we pop
While
out
we're
of order
doing
or not?
if the audience has any Q&A, this is a good time to start sending that through. Even for Kofi, we can ask him a question. If there's any in the chat, do feel free to add those now.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, great.
I have it.
Yay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, all good. So once we've got those up.
I have a Word document. Is that what you want?
Yeah. It has the links in there that you can pop open.
Oh, okay.
I'll just let you know the name of each one as we go along, and then you can just click that link and that'll open up the window.
Oh,
Does
okay.
that work?
You want me to open it? So, okay, you tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah. All right. Let me get started here, and I'll just let you know which link to open. Okay. All right. Thanks. I'm Brian Berkenstock, Brian B, and I mostly work with health tech founders and CEOs and small businesses to help them sort of translate the complexity of their product or their software as a service into sort of more human language so that people can understand it and hopefully remember it and refer it to other folks. So, but today I'm going to talk about specifically our LinkedIn profiles, which are really, really powerful tools to turn into a funnel, because this really is your face to the world. So, Jose, if you could click under banner, the one that says bad example, we could start there. Oh, you're on mute. That's the one. You're on mute, Jose. I can't hear you.
Sorry. And bad example.
That's the one.
Nothing happens when I click it.
Oh no. All right.
These are there's no links in this. Brian, it's not going to work.
All right. Well, let me see if I can share then.
Because they're just it's underlined text. It's not actually a hyperlink in the document.
All right, let me see here. So I'm going to share. Let me see if this will work.
There we go.
I'm sharing.
Yep.
Excellent. Let's hide all these folks. Get this to take a big space. Okay, you can see that?
Yep.
All right. Let me get started now. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. Okay. So there's a couple of key spots on your profile that I'm going to walk through. There's 5 of them in particular. Then I've got 2 sort of extra tips if there's time at the end. So this is your banner up here. And for poor James, he's not using his LinkedIn for anything other than just sort of acknowledging the fact that he's got a regular job. So he really doesn't need to use this in the same way that the rest of us do. But this would really be the prime space here where you would want to show just how powerful this section could be, because this is really your billboard. This is the first thing that people are going to notice up here, in addition to your photo. So let me show you a couple of folks who do this really well. This is Richard. His might be a little bit crowded, but it's not too bad. Clearly tells you what he does, what his pitch is to you. He includes some social proof down here, all the different places he's either worked for or with, or he's been featured in he's been featured in an article. He's got two brands up here, his personal brand and then the brand that he's selling, The Art of the Sell. We've got another one here. Let me show you Matt. Just take a look at how clean and simple that is. Scroll down, click my links, make money on LinkedIn. You can't get much simpler than that in terms of your what you want up there in your banner. The next section we want to look at is the headshot, because this is really, the headshot is essentially like your handshake to the world. If the banner is your billboard, this is where people are going to see who you are and who they're dealing with. Let me just show you a couple of those. This is a nice professional one, a little bit of a blurry background so it's not distracting. This has got like a sort of an odd angle here, catch your attention right away. So it's nothing boring. It's not AI generated. It's a selfie, but it's still a good clear shot. this is one that a lot of the experts would say is not a good one because we're not seeing his face featured. But Andrew is a pulmonary specialist. So what he's doing here is he's blowing a handful of flour out of his hand, which is something that's nearly impossible for someone who has pulmonary disease like COPD or asthma or something. So this really gets your attention in kind of a unique way. Oh, that guy, how'd he get in there? This one has a close-up shot, a little bit of a background that you can put in there if you don't want a plain background. All right, next one we're going to go to is your headline. So this is the area that LinkedIn calls your headline. All this text that comes directly below your name here. And so if the banner is your billboard and the picture is your handshake, this is essentially your elevator pitch. This is where you're telling folks, here's what I do, here's what I can do for you. So she's saying, I transform overworked, underpaid solopreneurs into profitable CEOs of business. So that's pretty nice and clear. Let me take a look at another one here. This is Vince. He helps people. I help consultants, creators, and execs nail public speaking. That's very clear, very simple. You're not confused at all about what he's offering or what he's got going on there for you. The next section we're going to look at is the About section. So I'm going to scroll down here. He also does a very nice job. And this is a new feature up here. You might notice that it can kind of scroll through and show you two different screens. I think if you're a premium member, you can get to use that. So the About section, if you're a regular employee for a company, the About section is sort of your biographical area. But if you're selling and you're trying to build a brand on LinkedIn, the About section is really a little bit less about you and more about the people that you want to reach. So in this case, Ryan's sort of saying, here's the different ways you can accomplish X, whatever it is. And he's offering you, here's one way to do it. Here's the second way to do it. The second way is his pitch, of course. So that works very well in that case. Who else do we have for the About section? Oh, I just used Ryan for this one because his is pretty complete. So he goes on, you've got a good bit of space here. It's good, you want to use up as much as you can. If someone doesn't want to read it all, they don't have to, of course, but if they're interested, they're going to go down and read all the way to the end and find out, if you're interested, DM me 99, and then you'll connect and learn some more from Ryan and what he's got to offer. Now we're going to look at the featured section. And again, you'll notice these people who are good at one thing tend to be good at all of them. So this is a great banner headline. Again, a nice picture over here, a nice pitch right here underneath in her headline section. She's got a very clear About section as well, but I wanted to go down and show you the featured section here. Because this is where you can really highlight anything that you want to sort of give away. If you've got a newsletter, this is a great place to put it. If you've got a personal video that Kofi was talking about earlier, that's a great place to put this as well. Anything you can fit more than one here. I think you can fit maybe up to 4, and then they just sort of scroll across with a little arrow over here. And who else do I have for featured? Oh yeah, I want to go back and show Vince because he's got a good featured section as well. You saw him before. Yeah, so down here, come down here. He's got quite a few listed in here, but you get right away what he does, what he's promoting. If he's selling something, put it right in here. If he's here he's selling some of his infographics library. Other places he might put in his top post, ones that have done really, really well. Like this one's got 6,000, that one's got 1,000. So this is another great area where you can really highlight. And then of course you can click more to show even more features than what we're showing here. All right, and your LinkedIn URL. Not everyone knows this. Let me see if I can move this. So you can customize your LinkedIn URL. Not everyone knows that. It's not a big deal if you have a distinct name, like Brian Berkenstock. I don't have a lot of competition out there, but if you've got a name that's more common, if you're Joe Smith, then you would be Joe Smith number 76, and that's sort of wasted space. Whereas you can customize this. So he's putting in Vince Angelo Coach. You can put in any number of things here, and you can use dashes to sort of separate things. You can't get too complicated, but it's just a nice little extra tip or feature if you want to use that space. And also the naming space. Let me show you what you can do here. So you'll notice right here, some people in parentheses next to their name, this is really what LinkedIn had intended for us to use with our pronouns. You could put, his and her, them and they, whatever you want there. But if you don't want to do that, you can also sort of put in a little brief description of what it is you are. So he's claiming LinkedIn expertise. If you're doing sales, you can put that in. If you want to highlight that you do something specific to B2B, this is another great place to put that in there. So those are the two extra tips. And that brings us to the end. If anyone has any questions, I can take them now, or we can do that at the end, Jose, or Ekanjali, however you want to do that.
Yeah, we will certainly get to the questions in the chat. I mean, I have one right away, Brian. Thank you. That's really useful. What you've demonstrated there is using every inch that you possibly can. And that last tip hadn't even occurred to me. So thank you. For pages, like company pages, would the same apply as well? So if you have a startup and you're starting to curate the page for that company, I guess much of the same would apply. And that would be what my question would be around.
You can take advantage of that, but truly on LinkedIn, the personal brand is much stronger than the company brand. So if you're a founder or a CEO, you really want to be the face of the company out there, sort of pushing stuff and doing most of your posting there. But people will still click over and look at your company page. But if you looked at terms of like followers, you'll see many more followers here of his personal page than you would if you went over to his visit my website page. So it's good to keep those updated and active, but nowhere near as valuable as your personal brand page is.
Right. So really focus on this and maximize all the opportunities LinkedIn gives you to make it very clear what your personal brand is.
It's a strong funnel, and LinkedIn is your biggest way. It's the biggest B2B network in the world. So you're losing out if you don't take advantage of all those spots on here.
Thank you so much, Brian. We will look back to questions at the end. So thank you so much. And on to our third speaker. It is a great privilege for me to be interviewing this speaker because it's Jose himself. And it's really nice to be asking the questions this time, Jose. So welcome. I would love for you to introduce yourself as a panelist. And then I've got a couple of questions for you.
Brian, do you mind stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
There you go. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is actually the first time I've ever spoken on a panel. It won't be the last. I'm actually speaking at another panel on Friday. They put me on the banner as AI influencer, and I'm like, I'm not too sure how comfortable I am.
Yeah, no, thank you. But I mean, I'll talk from personal experience, right? So people can often be quite hesitant to put themselves forward over the video medium. It's very exposing. Your general sense of personality does come across. And if you are more shy and timid, that might be a challenge. So what are some steps or some advice? You've shared this advice with me, so to our wider audience as well, around how you can use that video format to maximize impact.
I actually had a conversation this morning with the chief technology officer of a health AI company, and he's got a gun to his head. He's been told by his marketing team, you've got to appear on a webinar. And he knows he has to do it. And his son is telling him to do it. His 12-year-old son is saying, Dad, you got to be on video. But he's got this gun to his head, right? And he's coming into the meeting with me, and he knows I'm the person who's going to be putting him on a webinar panel, and he's really uncomfortable. And so a lot of what I do is getting people to a place where they're comfortable doing it. Mm-hmm. So I'm working with him on that. But assuming you're not working with me, here's a simple tip. Start small. Send a video to your mom. Your mom is going to be, and actually, that might sound kind of trite, but I found actually my mom gave me really good feedback on how to improve my presentation. And it's safe to send your video to your mom. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to be uncomfortable with it for a long time, and that's okay. So start making tiny videos. You don't have to publish them online. Send them to people and watch the video. And if watching yourself on video makes you uncomfortable, then you have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. If you're uncomfortable seeing yourself on video, you have to keep doing it. You have a responsibility to your investors, to your employees, to your company to get past the uncomfortable bit. And you will. And just the act of being uncomfortable is you learning how to do it. So you just have to push past it. And eventually, as I went through the same process, I like seeing myself on video now. And the reason why I like seeing myself in video is I go, oh, I've improved so much over the past year. I've improved so much, and I'm going to keep getting better. So you actually, if you push yourself through that trench, eventually you'll actually get comfortable. So that's my tip. Send a video to mom.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's, your mom or your network around you, your personal contacts, they're going to know you. So they're going to know whether you're being able to deliver that message yourself correctly. So I really like that tip. One of the other things over video certainly is trying to come across credible, and maintaining that sense of credibility as an expert, particularly when you've put yourself out there, your company out there, your technological solution out there. So what are some tips around being both engaging and credible over this medium?
It's a frame shift. Humanize the person you're speaking to. You're not speaking to the LinkedIn algorithm. You're speaking to a human being. Think of that. You are speaking to human beings. You're not speaking to a social media network. You are trying to help those people over there. I'm trying to help. You can maybe think of what might help. You might think of a potential customer or somebody, one of your peers. You're trying to help them. Focus on them as an individual. Tell them something about their problems that they don't already know and is relevant. And don't try to sell them something. Don't be, and a lot of startup founders, unfortunately, every time they appear on camera, they're just doing the same sales pitch over and over again. And when they do that, and when people notice that, then this person's just trying to help themselves. And now I'm not going to pay attention to what they say. I'm not going to believe what they say, because he's always trying to put his own needs. He's always pitching. He's always pitching. And now I'm not going to trust him because he's pushing.
Yeah.
And whereas you have to think win-win. Win-win-win. You're trying to create a win-win situation for everybody. And then people will come to you. I think it's also think of it as inbound. You're dreading, this is even though I think click posts are like the new cold calling, but instead of like pushing, you're giving people value. And if it's right, they will come to you.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It really does, because it's what you said at the beginning, remembering the human connection element of it. And when I've heard the same pitch again and again, it loses that even that excitement, that genuine, the why behind why somebody is speaking to you. So embedding that with the person you're actually speaking to, why are they having this conversation? That makes a lot of sense. So that brings me on to my third question. And it's around co-creation and collaborating with people across this medium on LinkedIn, and that being a really potentially powerful tool for people to be able to tap into. So could you explore that, and certainly some tips around co-creation of content, collaboration with peers, and what that looks like? And I'd love for you to expand on that, Jose.
I actually want to use you in this example. And I've made all the mistakes too. And the short answer is treat them as human beings. Personalize them. They're not marketing resources. It's a person. Every speaker, every content creator is a personal relationship. And also, don't go after follower counts. I had a very big influencer, and he's a great guy. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. But I thought when I first started out, it's like, oh, you got to get big influencers. You got to get big influencers. You got to get them, right? And then you're not looking at them as a person. You're just looking at their follower count. That's a mistake. And actually, I got a big influencer, and one of the things that happened, and I don't fault him for doing this, because that's the way I approached him. He brought one person. One person came to the webinar because of him, and he was the star. So I brought 369 people. He brought one, and he's a star. Well, actually, no, I brought 439. He brought one. Ekanjali, I saw you in the audience. I reached out to you. I actually didn't know that you worked for a big organization. It said on LinkedIn, it's like 50 to, it said that it was like a small number of people. I think it's because of I'm not too sure why.
Yeah.
And you had 700 connections. And I was interested in you as a person and in the expertise that you could bring. 100 people came to the webinar to hear you speak. 100, right. Even though you only had 700 followers, it's like, and you didn't make it all about you. Mm-hmm. And now we've had this relationship, and we've this is the other thing too. You want people you can grow with. Mm-hmm. People are just going to come in. That's why if you try to get this big influencer, they're just going to come in, they're going to be the star, they're going to pat you on the head, and then they're going to walk off. Whereas if you grow with people, you have that long-term relationship, and that's treating them as a person and growing. You want people that are going to make you feel good, that you can learn from, and that you can grow with together.
Yeah, that makes so much sense when you were talking about not going in for like a hard sell, because it's the opportunity cost of what you might be missing outside of that very blinkered, when I just want to sell to this person or just present to this person or get this thing, this marketing thing out of this person, right? And really looking at the wider picture more broadly. So we've got time for another question. I'll invite people in the chat to also ask. But
we do have questions in the Q&A.
Yes.
But
we have got Brian, and he's got a question for Kofi. So we'll come back to that in the Q&A at the end.
Yeah. Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
To the point is, don't try to recruit too many people at once, and just get one person at a time.
Well, yeah, it's my final question to you, Jose, actually. Yeah. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh, okay.
So when you are feeling the pressure, if a founder is feeling the pressure to draw in those sales, and you're doing that outreach work on LinkedIn, but you've got some hard numbers to try and fulfill to present to your founder or the board or likewise, how do you step away from that pressure to be able to deliver effective marketing over LinkedIn?
Ooh. Well, you have to break it down. It's just almost like software engineering, and I know a lot of these founders break it down into the smallest problems. So if an engineer is going to break it down into the smallest problems and solve them individually, it should be the same way. You don't say, oh, grow the business. That's too big of a problem. You have to break it down into the smallest Lego blocks. And then you have like, for instance, my goal right now is I want a webinar with 300 people live. That's achievable. I've had about 200. So the next step is 3. And I break it. And then how am I going to do that? I'm going to break it down to the smallest problems. I've broken it down to 12 small problems and then focus on those. Whereas if you focus on the big problem, you're going to get stressed out and you're not going to know what to do. Mm-hmm. So just break the problem down. Think of it think of the problem as a big block of Lego. You break it up into the smallest pieces, and then you just focus. You could use an engineering methodology. What problem am I focusing on now? What's blocking me? What's next? What's blocking me? What's next? What's blocking me? And I would do that. Break it down.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Good advice. So this brings us on to Thanos, our 4th panelist in this conversation. So excited to welcome you, Thanos. And I wondered if you want to introduce yourself first.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here with everyone. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Prosneus, and we work with founders of in companies that they are in digital health and AI space. And what we do is really we help them with refining their value proposition, go-to-market strategies, commercial strategies. And our sweet spot of companies are the ones that they have raised some round of funding and they're looking to scale and they're looking to make their voice heard in the market in the healthcare space. And we also work with companies that they are looking to set a footprint in the United States. So we just a very niche kind of a group of people that have done this for many years, and we help companies that they're trying to do that today.
Thank you, Thanos. That's a great introduction. So I'm going to jump straight into the questions. So for a founder who's got the doors opened, they're speaking to a potentially interested party, what are some of the first steps they can actually take to convert that into a sale? And yeah, some advice around that.
Yeah, so there is a big challenge that founders are facing today, right? And the big challenge, they have one kind of a thought in mind, which is we need to be financially successful, right? Everybody's trying to figure out how much runway they have, can they generate revenue, can they close deals? And there is a paradox to that situation, right? Because reality is, for you as a founder to be successful, you should not be thinking about the financial aspect, right? The financial aspect and the thought about how I'm going to make money, it should be a byproduct of you having an authentic relationship and solving a problem, right? And I think I heard, a few of our panelists here talk about authenticity, building the relationship. So it's easier said than done, right? This reminds me don't think of an elephant, psychology test. All of a sudden you're going to start thinking of an elephant. So, founders know that they need to solve a problem. Founders know that they need to build these authentic relationships, but they are totally pressured in generating the revenue and generating the money. And if you can disconnect yourself from that aspect in your relationships and build a relationship on authenticity and on solving a problem, the financial aspect is going to come. So to me, I mean, the first step when you open the door is just build that authentic relationship, basically communicate what problem you're solving and are you helping them, and being authentic to what you can do and what you cannot do.
Yeah, great advice. So, I mean, with so much content out there, volumes and volumes, how does one go about being memorable and leave a lasting impression to their audience? So any advice on that, Thanos?
Yeah, so I just came back from the HIMSS conference, and HIMSS is a healthcare IT conference that happens every year. And I didn't see the latest numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were close to 800 to 1,000 vendors exhibiting. And it is a noisy space out there, and if you take these, let's say 800 companies, and you map out who they need to talk to, right, within a hospital system, there would likely be 10 to 12 roles that everybody's trying to talk to, right? So 800 companies trying to talk to 12 people, right? So getting the messaging out there is extremely difficult. And especially if you are a brand that is not recognized, it is just painful, right? So the best advice that I have for founders is keep refining your value proposition. Make sure that you have clarity in your message and what problem you're trying to solve, what problem you're solving for your customers. Usually, especially in the technology space, you have founders that they are primarily engineers. They have, some co-founders that they might be clinicians and doctors and specialists. And a lot of times founders fall in love with technology, right? And the discussions start happening around the technology and the aspects of the technology, right? Again, the technology, it is the means to an end. So all the founders out there that they have the engineering background need to start thinking about solution selling. And how do you get into solution selling? And again, what is the very succinctly, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? And if you can get that message out one-on-one in authentic relationships, and then communicate it to the market, I think you can have a potential positive impact in your business.
Yeah, and onto the sort of refining your value proposition. It's also linked to doing the research on the actual company that you've got a seat at the table with, because your value proposition might look slightly different depending on who you're talking to. And I've certainly been in environments where I'm having to tell them what I think their value proposition is. And they haven't been able to tell me. So that would be a bit of a missed opportunity. So it's really looking at that beforehand.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And the other aspect of that in many presentations I have been a part of and I have listened to, and presentations like you have been in the same spot as well. 80%, even more than 80% of the companies that present, they like to talk about themselves, right? And there is not an open communication, and there is very little listening and a lot of talking. So that's another aspect of how you learn, how you refine your value proposition. Every experience that you have, that you get in front of a potential customer, it is an opportunity to learn and refine your messaging and your value proposition. So I would say to all the founders, take this as an opportunity to learn and listen, and not just constantly be in that presentation pitch mode. And that can go a long way in understanding what the pain points of your customers are.
Yeah. We always like to collect new titles from webinars, don't we, Jose? And refining your value proposition might well be something we can explore in future webinars. So there's a lot more I could say on that as well, Thanos. But that brings me on to my third question quite nicely, actually. And we've touched upon it with listening, but really the traits that somebody brings to the table they can work on enhancing, that's going to help them get the most out of a seat at the table with somebody. So I wonder if you could expand on that, on certain traits that work well.
Look, I mean, there is plenty of books that have been written about traits of successful people, and so I'm not gonna go down that list. Everybody has heard it. I would say at a very high level, I would say, three things. First of all, you need to be humble. You need to be able to listen, to learn, to just basically smack in the face and, get up and go again and continue moving and being humble and not, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. There's always that kind of so you need to be confident and humble, right? That's number one. The other one I would say is that goes hand in hand is being authentic. Build authentic relationships with people. I mean, if you need to show vulnerability, show that. Learnings, what you've learned, where you have failed, where you have succeeded, that goes a long way. And honestly, authenticity, you cannot fake it, right? I mean, it is innate in each one of us, and we need to bring it forward. And the last one I would say, again, is all ties together, is being curious, curiosity, right? I mean, just don't fall in love with your baby, with your own company, with your own development, with your own engineering architecture, or whatever it is that you are building. Just being humble, being authentic, and then being curious about the problem that you are solving and what you have. Does it solve the problem? And if it doesn't, do you need to refine it? And how do you move forward? And being able, always being ready to pivot, always being ready to pivot. I mean, a lot of companies that I have seen that they have failed is they keep insisting on communicating the same message and the same kind of a solution that they believe is a solution all the time without making refinements or pivoting, right? And that's being able to pivot is important. So I would say authenticity, being humble, and being curious.
Yeah, that's great advice, and that agility to be able to take that feedback as market research, really, and look at how you can develop your product with that knowledge.
Exactly.
That's really great. Thank you so much, Thanos. You really grounded our conversation there at the end. At this point, 10 minutes before we close, I'd love to invite everybody back on for some Q&A or really what we called in the rehearsal space a group hug to actually answer some of these questions. So have all your mics on. And if anybody in the audience does have any more, please do feel free to put them in now. We have some great experts on willing to take these conversations forward. So I will start with a question from Brian Green. And this is a question for Kofi, and I invite the others as well to answer this as well. How much of the engagement with video on LinkedIn do you think reflects organic user behavior versus the algorithm itself promoting videos in users' feeds? So that's a question for Kofi.
Yeah, so I'll say that at this point, a large part of the success, if you're talking about reach and impact, a large part of the success of video, specifically short form video on LinkedIn, is accelerated by the algorithm. Now, that being said, you have to understand kind of the competitive advantage there, right? So at the end of the day, LinkedIn wants more people to stay on the platform and engage more, right? So it's to LinkedIn's benefits to, if you're creating video, which again, just across all different social platforms, video tends to get the most engagement and the most staying power on the platforms. So if LinkedIn is doing adopting the same approach, we as users and as business people also have to look at it as an opportunity to essentially ride the wave that they're creating, but then make sure that we're bringing our authentic self to the user as the algorithm is essentially introducing us at scale. So it's a strategy where it's a balance between making sure that your video is impactful enough and represents you and your company well enough, such that when the algorithm essentially picks it up and distributes it to more people, you're introduced properly and they now become part of your ecosystem. So I think at this point, it's a large part of the algorithms doing it. And, what I've seen across social platforms is that you have to give the algorithm what it wants to some extent, but then maintain your authenticity within that context.
Yeah, being strategic about it, knowing what LinkedIn's motivations are as well, and using that to your advantage.
You mind
Brian, Jose, sorry, Kofi?
No, that's Jose.
I wanted to say something.
Okay, sorry. Did you have any thoughts on that? Did you want to expand on that at all?
Another thing too is the people, I think the LinkedIn algorithm will favor. Personally, I think because I think a lot of people prefer video format, and also they're going to stay on your post for longer if it's a video, and they're just scrolling past. They're not spending much time, but if they actually open up the video, they're playing it, and they're lingering on your content, LinkedIn likes that better. It's going to, but also it isn't just about the LinkedIn algorithm manipulating people. I think people just a lot of people genuinely like videos. And also I've noticed some things, it's like, I'm just intuiting here. I'm just intuiting here that there's something, I could see a reaction because I toggle between text and video and I go, oh, people really like that video. I'm getting a lot more engagement. People are mentioning it in conversation.
Yeah.
So,
is there a sweet spot of lingering, would you say, with length of video? Can a video be too short or too long?
A lot of people ask me this, and I would say and Kofi may have a different opinion. I'm going to be an outlier because I measure videos by impact, right? The ultimate impact, the ultimate metric is, do people bring it up with me in conversation? That's the ultimate metric. Do somebody mention the video to me in conversation? The length does not matter. We're not selling lipstick. So I'd say most videos are short, but it's okay to have a 9-minute video every once in a while. The video needs to be as long as it needs to be. So if this person is delivering relevant information, then it can be a bit longer than 1 or 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be short.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, in that context, I think a lot of people look at the wrong metrics, to Jose's point, as far as like, well, is this working, right? Yes, you might not get as much, let's just say even for text image posts, you might not get have as much followers or get as many people engaging with it, but is it the right people, right? And the same thing goes for video, right? Where it needs to be succinct enough, and Brian probably could speak a lot more to this, where you're not rambling. It needs to be succinct enough, focused enough, and engaging, such that you're able to communicate what you're trying to communicate in the time that is allowed. And there's nothing wrong with having a series. If it's a longer conversation, it's a longer messaging, there's nothing wrong with having a series of videos touching on different parts of that.
I have noticed a lot of people are doing sort of the like a podcast version of a video. So they're just recording the podcast, and then it's a conversation, which also makes it a little bit more interesting and sort of palatable if it's a longer video.
Yeah. Great. Well, we've got 2 more questions. So this is a question from Jean-Paul. The difference in healthcare is that most clinicians have been on the receiving end of hardcore marketing from pharma their whole careers. How does health AI escape itself being seen as yet more magic beans? So very well worded question. And I wonder if somebody wants to take that.
Thanos?
Well, I'll take that, because I've been on the I guess receiving end of having represented clients that have big enough budgets. I've been on the receiving end of startups and health tech companies that are trying to connect with those clients. And there is a before the meeting starts, I'll definitely say, before the meeting start, there is a BS meter that goes up, right? Most people understand that some level of the communication between the client or the prospect and that health AI company, there's some level of sales within that. So I think it's inherent on the health AI company not to, one, use a lot of jargon and, kind of hit all the top points. I'm mentioning AI, automation, like not sound like they're in an article, and really speak. And I always go back to this. The key differentiator is why you, as the founder, as the founding team, and why the solution. People interact and buy into people and not just random tech. So you do have to tie the efficiency and the impact of the tech to the solution or the pain point that you as the founder, you as a team, have been able to identify with. So I think that's where the BS meter kind of goes away, and you have more of a conversation. So that's just kind of my perspective there.
Thank you, Kofi. Thanos, any thoughts on this?
I was coughing when you asked the question, so just please repeat the question.
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's around how clinicians have been approached by pharma their whole careers with heavy marketing.
Yeah.
So there's a risk that tech falls into the same category, and people aren't able to engage with the tech founders, or clinicians rather. So how does health AI escape itself being seen as that yet more pharma style marketing?
Yeah, the approach of the clinicians has changed over the last couple of years, especially after COVID, right? You cannot, especially, and I'm talking about in the US, I don't know in Europe, but in the US it's extremely difficult. Prior to COVID, you would walk in a hospital and you go talk to the chief of radiology. You will go and camp outside their office, and have a conversation, or try to have a conversation with some relevant party. So we had a lot of, still there was like, you had to be credentialed, and You know, they had to know who you are, but it was a little bit more of a, you know, open environment. Especially after COVID, it has been extremely difficult to get FaceTime with clinicians. So, and that goes for the pharmaceutical companies, that goes for you know, health IT, digital health, that goes for AI companies. So the traditional kind of way, or the, you know, the way that used to happen, it doesn't happen anymore. So right now, I mean, you will get it through social media, you will get it through, you know, conferences, you will try to connect with people through this kind of events. So how do you get out of that, you know, not be seeing it? I mean, you know, you want to be seen as a company that brings value, and ultimately that's what it is, right? I mean, you don't want to have that brand in your face that they see you and they walk away and they turn around because they know a sale is coming, right? And this full circle to the authentic relationship. I mean, if you have an opportunity to meet people and to meet them and build a relationship, that goes a long way. And then through networking, through introductions. So that's how business is done. I mean, if you expect it, you would find somebody and you would give them an elevator pitch, you know, the traditional kind of you know, concept of marketing, that you get on an elevator with someone and in 30 seconds you're going to give them your value proposition and then you'll sell them. I mean, this is not the way it is done today. You know, it is this is a relationship game right now. Again, just because of how much noise there is out there and how many companies there are out there. Just for ideology alone, in the AI space, there is 700 AI solutions represented to close to 200 companies. So all these 200 companies, they need to talk to the same people, right? So it is a very noisy space out there.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Thanos. And we had a third question, and that was from Ashish, a great question actually around the investor lens. So perhaps we can pick that up in the after party space, which I think we have the link to in the chat now. So we can certainly get that answered there for you, Ashish, and you're very welcome to join us there. But we are out of time. I hope that you found that really productive and helpful. I certainly have. I'll do a quick summary of some of the key points from each of our panelists who have been kind enough to share their expertise over this medium. So we started with Kofi, and he really had an excellent presentation around using AI, not just to build your content, but also actually sourcing what that content should be, and how to effectively balance coming across professional as well as authentic and engaging. And really, I think the words he used was engaging, impactful, effortless content. So some great tips from Kofi on that. We then moved to Brian, who gave us some really practical tips and secret tips as well that I hadn't heard of or thought of in terms of how to use your LinkedIn profile to maximize your impact and return, and really thinking about your banner as your billboard and taking ownership of it in that way. Thinking about your headline as your elevator pitch and not being distracting and boring, but also getting attention and coming across unique. And we had some real practical tips and examples of that, which Brian demonstrated to us as well. We then moved on to the wonderful Jose, who really embedded the human factor in this conversation and engaging with people, the users or the organizations in that relationship iterative way as well. Not being so seller forward and not thinking about the hard sell so much as really the wider conversation and building those relationships in your network, and then moving on to how you can actually work together. And it might not always be in the way that you had expected. And then finally, we moved to Thanos, who reminded us of some of the key traits that he's noticed with founders that have driven them far, being humble, staying curious, remaining authentic, being ready to pivot, and really using feedback that you might be getting that you might not want to be getting, right? And but using that as market research and reiterating your value proposition based upon who you're speaking to. So I'll close by saying thank you to everyone and for the wonderful questions as well. Thank you to our panelists, and we look forward to seeing some of you in our rehearsal space. And yeah, see you there.